I'm Michelle Ryder, editor of PrintIT Reseller. I'm here today with Mark Asbridge, head of business consultancy at MyQ. Good morning, Mark. Welcome. Thank you very much for joining me today.
Good morning, Michelle. Thank you for the invite. I'm very excited for this meeting.
So, Mark, you're relatively new to MyQ. I know your background is in the reseller community. So what's it been like working for a software development company?
So I joined MyQ in November last year, and it's been a really interesting journey moving from a reseller team over into a software development company. Working alongside some of the greatest people within the teams has been fantastic. It's a complete change of role, working from a local UK company into a global company where we're selling MyQ in all areas.
You mentioned your role as an international role and involves obviously a lot of travel. So what else does the role involve? How different is it to what you've done previously?
Yeah, so my previous role was just looking at it from a software sales side of things, whereas now my roles incorporate basically all teams and all departments, where what we're doing is integrating our product teams, our sales teams and our marketing together. And the thing for MyQ is we are a development house. We have an awful lot of developers, and it's converting that developers into our sales side and into our marketing side. It's understanding why those features and functionalities are important. And it's also understanding the developers need to understand the real world in the industry so that we can make sure that those products are developed in the correct way. So my role is very much working with all of the teams at MyQ from head office and joining them all together and bringing all these industry knowledge to develop the products in the future.
So acting almost as a bridge between the technical coders, the clever guys that do all the clever stuff behind the scenes, but then translating that into a product that's marketable, that the sales team can communicate about, and then obviously to make MyQ's products and sales much more successful.
Absolutely, and it was one of the first things that when I was doing my introductions at MyQ was my surname of being the bridge, and basically bridging those departments and bringing them together just to make sure that we're launching the correct information and the product's developed in the right way.
A recent IDC report highlighted that MyQ is the fastest growing software solution in the sector, which is great news. At the end of last year, I think it was the end of last year, you made some quite significant upgrades, improvements to your flagship MyQ X on-premise offering. Can you talk me through what the highlights of that release were?
Yeah, absolutely. So as you mentioned, the IDC report, it was fantastic news for MyQ. We are one of the fastest growing and we are still continuing to grow, and we're opening up different regions all of the time. So we're also opening up APAC region. We're expanding quite rapidly. But obviously with that rapid deployment also becomes our rapid development of the product as well. And we recently launched, or end part of last year, and now the terminals, the 10.2 version. The 10.2 version has brought so many enhancements, and with the product, it's all about the differences of areas that we touch. We always talk about being a user-centric product. It's all about the user. It's all about the user's interactions with the terminal devices. But we're also understanding it's the interactions with the IT administrators. How do they configure and onboard the product? How do they do the settings? How do they get users in? How do they customize it? So for us, it's not only looking at the user's instance, it's understanding the administrators. So when we look at from the server point of view, we've added all these enhancements where we've made almost one-click automated installation processes. You can install MyQ in an environment within a matter of minutes. So the whole enhancements of MyQ was bringing that really simple next complete process. So administrators can onboard the systems incredibly quickly. Then when we then look at from the terminal's point of view, this is where the most enhancements for the users have been. We've recently redone all the UI, so now it's got a complete new touch and feel. We've enhanced the actions so that we're hiding certain features where the users can't edit them or adjust them. We've enabled simple things like browsing of your OneDrive or SharePoint destinations. We've then enhanced with adding a thing called our favorite actions. And to me, favorite actions is the absolute key highlight of the product, because previously you always rely on the administrator to create your scan actions, your scan destinations. But a lot of users have different folders in their OneDrives and their SharePoints. And I'm pretty sure if you looked at your OneDrive compared to my OneDrive, it might look slightly different. Everybody's got their own sort of way of designing files and structures. which is an administrator's worst nightmare, because they might have 1,000 people asking them for 1,000 different folders with 1,000 different workflows, and that's just unreasonable. But with the favorite actions now, users can create their own bespoke actions. What that means is they can go into the device, they can add a button, they can select OneDrive, they can select SharePoint, and they can select all the parameters that they want for that scan action, whether it's color, black and white, double-sided, PDF, TIFF file, whatever the administrator allows them to change, the user can set those settings. Then the user can then browse their OneDrive folders. So for example, imagine that they were scanning to a finance team and they wanted to scan into the invoice folder. They can just select that as a default for that scan action. So when they log in, they go to the favorite actions, they click one button, and they complete their scanning processes. For us, it's all about that streamlined usability on the devices. We don't want them spending time at the machines, but we want the files in the right location. So with MyQ, it's all about that streamlining of those processes. And that's some of our biggest enhancements that we've made. A lot of things that people still forget about is our easy print that we launched in 10.1, where you have the ability now to print from your OneDrive, print from SharePoint, print from Google Drive, ever-ending number of features. We're also enhancing all of our security, so we've recently added, obviously, for the new Windows protected print, so we now have native IPPS printing. There's so many features I could kind of go on about for the rest of the day, but there are lots of enhancements that we've done in 10.2. But for MyQ, we always talk about being an agile development. So it isn't like here's 10.2 and that's what it is until the next version. This is where we are today, but we're now coordinating the next sprint runs. So we're talking about how we can make more enhancements for the next patch version release.
I think what I loved, we did an interview for the magazine a few months ago, and it was all about MyQ makes personalisation personal. And you've touched on that in terms of making the user's experience more personal, enabling them to curate their own tasks or their own look and feel on their own user interface, which is a huge step change away from, as you say, IT administrators conform to the company's policies, and the end users have sort of got to work around that. So that's quite interesting.
Absolutely. For me, it's just making everyone's life simpler and easier. But we've got a lot of tasks that are really important, especially IT. If we can minimise the impact in ITs for an installation, that's just perfect. Users are happy, IT administrators are happy.
And I think we've also need to touch on the cloud native MyQ Roger app platform. I'm not sure how we position that. There are a couple of versions of that though, aren't there? What are the differences between the different versions?
Absolutely. So yes, you're completely right that we have the MyQ Roger native cloud application. And we've designed it in two slightly different ways. We have a personalised account, and then you then have your normal standard corporate account. So the corporate is more for your reseller environment. If we just talk about the personal account to start off with, because the personal account is designed for people that might not be a part of a business. They just be you and I ourselves, where we want to do some scanning and we want to do some auto capturing and rotating and scan to OneDrive and bits and pieces like this. What that's designed for is anybody can download the MyQ Roger app from the Play Store or the Google Store, and it's recently had over 1 million downloads, so it's a well-used application. The users can register with their own personalised account details, whether it's their own personal Gmail or OneDrive account. And the idea is that they can then complete the scanning of receipts themselves, because obviously today's day and age, we're moving more and more to a paperless environment. And the idea of the MyQ Roger platform is it allows you to digitise your documents for free.
On the fly,
wherever
you are.
Wherever you are. So you can be in a complete hybrid working environment, anywhere, as long as you've got an internet connection, you can start capturing your documents. And the thing is, it's not just taking a picture, it's got clever enhancements where it will start auto-rotating and correcting the angles, correcting the balances. But we've taken that to our next level, because we've also enhanced these AI capabilities of it within the personalised area. The idea of that is you can now link that into ChatGPT, because a lot of people are now scanning in documents, but they might want to translate it. They might want to extract key information. You might want to summarise what that document is. So rather than having to read a 20-page document, you might just say, just give me the key points, summarise it, or give me the theme of what this document's about. So with the MyQ Roger application, not only can you take pictures and auto-rotate and capture on bits and pieces, you can now also ask it for an AI response of what that document is. For me, the translation bit, I think, is so key, especially for my role when we're working internationally. We need to have that translation piece part of it. And it's all free download from the MyQ Roger Play Store. Obviously, if you start leveraging the AI, then there is a subscription model that's built into the product, but you can use it completely for free.
And how does the corporate version differ? So
the corporate version is designed to be in this hybrid world where you have your MFDs that are registered on the same platform. So your users, the app's still completely the same. It just depends on whether or not you're logging into a personal or whether or not you're logging into your corporate account. And then the idea of the solution there is you can be in your office working environment. So your standard follow me print, scanning, reporting, everything you would imagine from a standardized print management system, obviously native cloud. But it then gives you this capability to then use the mobile phone. So you have this complete hybrid working solution. Wherever you are in the world, if you're in an office with an MFD or on your mobile phone, it's the same system. Now, for me, the key points for that is from an administrative point of view. IT have only got to manage one platform, regardless whether or not you're doing entry synchronizations, you're doing scan to OneDrive, scan to Google Drive. As an administrator, you're managing one platform. Whether or not you use it on an MFD or whether or not you use it on a mobile phone, from the platform's point of view, it's the same actions. So this gives the complete flexibility for your users in a standard office environment, or it could be in a healthcare or education. It could be any kind of industry, but they want to go native cloud and they want to be able to complete these scanning and printing processes. But it's key when we look at these products is looking around the security aspect of it. And for MyQ, security is really, really key. So when we start talking about where does data travel, we've got a lot of flexibility within the MyQ Roger platform of where that data gets sent. So for example, if you've got highly confidential data, but you're in a zero trust network environment, you want to keep your data in your own personalized OneDrive. And that's what we're able to do with MyQ. Rather than sending off to MyQ cloud servers, you're able to keep that data in your own personal OneDrive. So your data never leaves your environment. And that's some really key points for MyQ Roger and how it differentiates against other products, because we want to make sure that the user's data is kept secure in their own personalized environments at all of those times.
I think now in this day and age with the increased risk of cyber attack, you've only got to look in recent weeks, the headlines, Marks and Spencer's, Co-op and Harrods, three massive, huge household names fell victim to cyber attacks. So I think security is front of mind for organisations of all sizes, and keeping that data protected and secure and within an environment you want it to be, whether that's for sovereignty reasons or GDPR compliance or indeed zero trust, as you've touched on, that you want to keep it on your network rather than in the public cloud. So that's really important to point out.
And I always look at it from smaller companies that for SMEs, they really do struggle with security because they don't have these teams of developers and teams of security consultants that they can rely on because they're expensive.
And many don't have in-house resource, IT resource or extensive IT resource, and they're reliant on their partners, on their suppliers, their providers, their print providers, to help them shore up security as part of implementing a wider print or IT infrastructure.
Absolutely, and that's where we're really lucky that we're having the teams that we've got from our developers are all highly trained, highly qualified security teams that can develop these applications and these processes that meet those requirements. So customers put that trust within us to meet their requirements.
So I think you've touched on the hot topic of the moment, over and above security, AI. So what's next on the roadmap for MyQ? And in particular, how are you going to leverage AI to make it even better?
Absolutely. And it's the question that everybody always asks, is AI. AI is the buzzwords for all of the industry at the moment, for very good reasons. And my answer back is always, we need to look at it in two different ways. How does MyQ use AI? How can we use AI for our partners? And how do we then use AI for our customers? And I think it's always people merge all of these things together. And I always like to differentiate them and understand how we're using it and why we're using it. Because what's the point of using AI for just AI's sake? I've seen some articles where people now have an AI toothbrush. Why do I need an AI toothbrush? Because it's the buzzwords of the industry. If we're implementing AI, it needs to be for beneficial reasons. So if we look at it from how MyQ is utilising it, internally, of course, we're using it for content creation, content writing, because it speeds up those processes. For us, it's understanding the benefits of utilising that to create it quickly and efficiently. We're also using it for some of the image creations as well, because again, we can create rapid content, a part of utilising the AI process. So when we start looking at marketing and LinkedIn, everybody in the industry is now starting to utilise it for those processes. Then we start to utilise it for our partners. So on our documentation website, we've had an AI chatbot that we're utilising for, I think it must be about 3 or 4 years now we've had that integrated. And the idea there is allowing the users or the partners to ask technical questions directly into our documentation site, because it's such an asset of resource information. Sometimes trying to find exactly where the article is within the documentation. Now they're able just to ask the chatbot, and they could say, maybe, how do I set up OneDrive? How do I set up cost centers? They can ask you all of these features. And then what it will then do is it will give back a high-level overview of the documentation, but it'll also give you those links. So I use it quite a lot, mainly because I can't bother to go through the articles. I would just much rather ask the chatbot and it just gives me the direct link. But again, it's all about being that efficiencies process. So again, when we're using AI, it's why? What's the benefit of utilising it? And this is for speeding up the responses for our partners. And equally, sometimes our customers go onto there because they want to change a setting and they want to understand the impact of that. Again, they might not be completely familiar with MyQ's documentation. They can just use an AI chatbot, ask it a question, and it takes them to that information. So for me, that's really, really important.
I think that ties in quite nicely with the earlier messaging around making it easy for users, making it user-centric. And again, if you're not technically capable or a little bit lacking in that department like I am, it's great to be able to go into something and say, how do I set up SharePoint? How do I scan to my OneDrive? And have that information come back to you in seconds, I presume, near real time,
yep.
Rather than have to maybe email somebody and wait, there's a delay, or do some searching, which takes time, or phone somebody. It's that real-time, instant access to information. So I can see there's a real value add.
And what are our next steps of how we're going to make that even better is how that will then integrate into the partner portal. So obviously, there's teams out there of massive sizes, of OEMs, which they've got big teams where they create a number of support tickets or questions. And basically what we're looking at doing now is integrating the bot on the partner side of the product. What that will then enable them to do is they'll be able to search all of their partner questions and answers. So again, it's trying to take that next step, because we have our fantastic documentation, but then people always have questions. And it's how you can then link those questions that partner has asked and how they can then use AI to then quickly and efficiently extract information from their own personalized area. So again, that's the next step of enhancements that we're doing for our partners. And then the last question that you're going to ask is, how are we looking at that within product? Because that's, to be honest, that's what most people are looking at. So for me, we mentioned MyQ Roger with its AI ChatGPT scanning. And that to me is the biggest point, where the fact that the users through the mobile app can automatically scan. So every assessment, what are you doing next? It's in the product now, it's there, you can utilize it, you can subscribe to it, and you can then start using that AI scanning. Then when we then look at the MyQ X processes, this is something that we are in the process of developing and reviewing that structure, because MyQ scanning capabilities has been amazing, and it's been industry leading for a number of years. But we're now starting to see this whole AI scanning process that's coming up, where we need to do something a little bit more with it. So what we're starting to do now is looking at the future of how we're going to develop those scanning processes and how we're going to capture those additional data and utilizing AI for that, because AI is here to stay. And equally, why do users want to do something that there's going to take time for that process? So it's something that's on our roadmap that we're currently reviewing, and we will be then launching information about that whole AI scanning process and those enhancements we're going to make onto it. Because for me, I mentioned earlier on about translations, document summaries, redactions, extractions. That's what people want in a product. And as much as we can do it now, we need a more streamlined and easier way to complete those tasks.
Thanks, Mark. That's been really interesting, particularly in terms of what's to come in terms of AI. I know you've got an event in the autumn, MyQ Showcase, coming up. I suspect there'll be a lot more to announce then, but can you maybe share a little bit more now?
Absolutely. So a lot of people are asking those questions. Is the MyQ Showtime event that's coming up in September. It is going to be a fantastic event where we've invited all of our partners and OEMs from around the world. And at that event, they're going to get a little sneak preview of what is to come with MyQ X. It's going to be our next version that we're going to be releasing. Obviously 10.2 we've talked about, it's here, people are utilizing it, but we've now got people developing that next version. For us, there's not too much that we can say about it at the moment, but we're looking at how much that can transition. Everybody's talking about the cloud, moving to the cloud. MyQ is obviously working with the cloud environment with MyQ Roger, when we have done for a number of years, but we're also looking at how we can then leverage certain cloud services within the MyQ X platform. Really looking at how we can move this into a hybrid environment. And I know at the moment we already have this hybrid working environment with private cloud, but it's how it will then change to be this native cloud product and how it can then connect utilizing all these different services. So there's an awful lot to come from MyQ. It isn't just this is where we've stopped at. This is just starting the journey of our next phase, where we'll then be leveraging this native cloud within the product. But at the Showtime event, we're all very excited to be showing this off. People will be able to come and see all of the products that we've got available, get sneak peeks into the future, as well as at the same time speak directly to all the developers, all the sales team. Personally, it's an event that I'm super looking forward to.
Mark, thank you so much for joining me today, and thanks for giving us a great insight into what MyQ is doing and will be doing. I look forward to finding out more after the event, after the MyQ Showtime event. Thank you so much once again for being here.
Thanks, Michelle, for the invite. I've really enjoyed our conversation today to give you some insights into MyQ.